It is officially spooky season, which this year I'm in such a spooky mood. Like, I want to read every single horror thriller book I have, which is a bit weird because I have never really been a fan of like Halloween, spooky season. This is the first year that I'm actually like into it. Hey guys, it's Isabella. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel if you're new. Today we are filming my September reading wrap up. I read some spooky books, some non-spooky books, kind of a mixture. Also, if that light is annoying you, don't worry, it is annoying me too, but there's not much I can do about it because if I have it off, the lighting is not going to be good. So I read a total of 5 books. I'm pretty happy with that number because I had a lot going on in September. Half of the month I was reading Dracula and I'm still reading it now, so could have been 6, but I didn't quite finish that one. Kind of taking my time with it, but it's really, really good. Like, I'm loving it. I didn't think I would get it because it's like a classic, but I get it. It's great. These aren't in any particular order. I'm just going to pick them up and talk about the books as I go. First book I want to talk about is Layla by Colleen Hoover. I've had this book on my shelf for probably about a year and I have been waiting for like spooky season to pick it up. Same with Verity. I just got the special edition. How cute. Haven't read Verity yet. Gonna read it in October. But I've just been waiting because I'm like, I just had to. Like, this is about like it's like paranormal romance type of thing. And I gave this book 4 stars. I really liked it. Going into the book, I had very good vibes. I was pretty positive I was going to like this book. I was a little bit nervous because it is a paranormal romance and I have never ever read a paranormal romance, and knowing it's Colleen Hoover, obviously it's going to have twists in it, and I was just very unsure of where this book was going to go. And like throughout the whole book I was just like on edge. I didn't know what was going to happen. Some people said they saw it coming. I didn't. I was very confused. And the last 50 pages were just unreal. I really, really enjoyed this book. It doesn't quite surpass It Ends With Us or Ugly Love, but it is up there with my favorite Colleen books. I think it is exceptional. I would highly recommend this, obviously for spooky season, but even if you don't want to read it in spooky season, it is just such a good book. The vibes are unreal. I am going to read the back of the book to tell you what the book's about if you don't know what it's about, rather than explaining it, just because I'm always very paranoid that I'm going to spoil something. I never have, but it's just like, I've watched videos before where they've spoiled something and I've been so annoyed and I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to read the back of this to make it easier. Love can haunt or heal. When Leeds meets Layla, he's convinced he'll spend the rest of his life with her until an unexpected attack leaves Layla fighting for her life. After weeks in the hospital, Layla recovers physically, but the emotional and mental scarring has altered the woman Leeds fell in love with. In order to put their relationship back on track, Leeds whisks Layla away to the bed and breakfast where they first met. Once they arrive, Layla's behaviour takes a bizarre turn, and that's just one of the many inexplicable occurrences. Feeling distant from Layla, Leeds soon finds solace in Willow, another guest of the B&B with whom he forms a connection through their shared concerns. As his curiosity for Willow grows, his decision to help her find answers puts him in direct conflict with Layla's well-being. Leeds soon realises he has to make a choice because he can't help both of them. But if he makes the wrong choice, it could be detrimental for all of them. It's a good book. Pick it up. After reading Layla, I was just in a very Colleen Hoover mood because it was such a good book. And I do think Colleen Hoover's books are either massive hits or massive misses. There's not really a middle ground for me. And this next book, it was a massive, massive miss. I gave it 2 stars, and that is Confess. Auburn Reed has lost everything important to her. In a fight to rebuild her shattered life, she has goals in sight and there is no room for mistakes. But when she walks into a Dallas art studio in search of a job, she doesn't expect to find a deep attraction to the artist who works there, Owen Gentry. For once, Auburn takes a chance and puts her heart in control, only to discover that Owen is keeping a major secret from coming out. The magnitude of his past threatens to destroy everything Auburn loves most, and the only way to get her life back on track is to cut Owen out of it. To save their relationship, all Owen needs to do is confess. but in this case, the confession could be much more destructive than the actual sin. In her magnificent and exceptional style, Colleen Hoover delivers once again a deeply moving story about how true love and family are ties that can never be broken. I did not connect to these characters whatsoever. I was about 120 pages in and I was considering actually DNFing this book because I just couldn't have cared less, but I wanted to know the big plot twist. I pushed through, and about 50 pages, I was like 50 pages from the end, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. So technically I did DNF it with around 50 pages left, but I'm counting it as a read because I read like a good 80% of it. So I'm counting that I've read it. I looked up what happened at the end and I'm kind of glad I didn't finish it because I would not have really liked to read about that. It was just really boring. I did not like Owen at all. I also read All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover a while ago and I didn't like Graham, and I feel like that's kind of an unpopular opinion, but I didn't like Owen. Aubin was alright, but I just didn't care enough. And the actual premise of this book, like the confess and the idea, is amazing, but I just think it was boring and nothing really interesting that I was interested in, if that makes sense. By all means, I would say give this book a go because Colleen Hoover is a book where some of her books are mind-blowing, others are really big misses, and I do feel like it is different for everyone. So I still would recommend giving this book a go because I have heard so many people absolutely love this book. Unfortunately, I'm just not one of them. Next book I read is a very popular book that I was very excited to pick up, and that is Before the Coffee Gets Cold. This has been absolutely everywhere. Everyone's like raving about how it gives like fall vibes. It's not fall where I live, it's spring. I live in Australia. But I'm pretending it's fall because it fits the spooky vibes. Not that this is, well, it kind of is. It kind of is. It's weird. If you could go back, who would you want to meet? In a small back alley in Tokyo, there is a cafe which has been serving carefully brewed coffee for more than 100 years. But this coffee shop offers its customers a unique experience, the chance to travel back in time. In Before the Coffee Gets Cold, we meet 4 visitors, each of whom is hoping to make use of the cafe's time-traveling offer. In order to confront the lover who left them, receive a letter from their husband whose memory has begun to fade, see their sister one last time, and meet the daughter they never got the chance to know. But the journey into the past does not come without risks. Customers must sit in a particular seat, they cannot leave the cafe, and finally, they must return to the present before the coffee gets cold. This was a 3-star book for me. I was hoping it'd be a 5-star, but I did get a little bit bored. It's hard to really say that I felt it was repetitive because obviously it's going to be repetitive. It's the same premise with different storylines, but for me, the stories weren't different enough for me. They just kind of all felt too similar, which, I don't know, it's hard to explain because in a way that's the idea of this book. Like, they're all customers who are sitting in a cafe, going back in time. So it's hard to say it's repetitive because that's kind of the point, but I don't know, there was not really anything that was keeping me on the edge of my seat. There was nothing that I was like, oh, what's gonna happen? Like, I was just reading it and there wasn't really much emotion. I wasn't super attached to any of the characters. My favorite entry was probably the first one, which is the lovers, and then after that I just slowly lost interest. In no means was it bad though, that's why I gave it 3 stars. Like, I still think you should read this. If you own this book, give it a read. There are some amazing quotes. I also think the way it's written I wasn't really a fan of, but it wasn't a bad story, it wasn't a bad book, and I'm glad I finally read it because it was highly anticipated and it's really cute. Like, it was a decent read, it just didn't blow me away. Still, give it a read if you want to. This next book I actually read at the start of the month and it is an absolute chunker. It is Gleam by Raven Kennedy, the 3rd book in the Plated Prisoner series. I believe I gave this 4 stars. It is a very big book and I think that's the one reason I didn't get 5 stars for me, because I did feel like it was just that little bit too long. It didn't need to be, how long is it? Like 600 pages? Close to 600. Like, I definitely did not think it needed to be that long, but it was good. It was good. It was a very important book to the series. I feel like some books you read and you're like, ugh, I didn't really need to read this. Definitely need to read this for the story. I think it did a lot. It just was very dragged out in some areas. Haven't read the Plated Prisoner series. I would highly recommend it. I'm not going to read the blurb of this because it is the third book, but I will briefly discuss the first book. The story is a King Midas retelling. So basically there's this girl that he gold touched and she's basically kept as a pet, but she's been manipulated into think she's just like the king's favored, and it's following her journey trying to really find her power, find herself. It's very feministy, it's very girl power. It's compared a lot to ACOTAR, but like darker, better written, and like just better than ACOTAR. I definitely agree with that. I think it is similar to ACOTAR, but it's its own in the same way. Like, I don't know, like it's similar to ACOTAR, but I definitely wouldn't put it on the same level or anywhere near the same level as ACOTAR. Like, it's much better. There are currently 4 books in the series. The 5th book is coming out, I believe, June 8th next year, which is my birthday, so that's very exciting. But I'm gonna read the 4th book not really anytime soon, probably around March next year, just so that I can continue reading the series without restarting. But anyway, this was really good. I liked it. I think I gave the second book 4 stars. I think I gave the first book 3 stars. It gets better as they go along, but I do think each book is just really well written. I love Raven Kennedy's writing. The only thing I would say to anyone who's thinking about reading this, it is a dark romance, and there are definitely dark elements, especially in the second book. I would say is the most dark from what I've read personally, what I think is. But just keep that in mind. It's not going to be a fluffy romance. How cute are the covers, by the way? And the final book I'm going to talk about today, I'm very, very excited to talk about because I actually finished my first ever audiobook. I have started so many audiobooks and I never finished them. I actually finished one and I was so proud of myself. It is a non-fiction, and I do feel like non-fiction for me is so much easier to read as an audiobook rather than a fiction book as an audiobook. I don't know why. My brain can only handle so much at once before I zone out and just completely forget what I'm meant to be listening to. I listened to Honest by Millie Evans. This is a non-fiction about bodies, about sex, about just everything to kind of do with the body. It's very educational and I really enjoyed it because it covered quite literally everything. Like everything you can think of about your body she talked about. It was fantastic. I don't really rate non-fictions just because that's just how I roll, but if I did, it would be 5 stars, just saying. But it was really good. It was really informative. It told me everything I needed to know. It wasn't boring, which is a big factor for me. Some non-fiction I'm just like, oh my god, like get to the point. It was really engaging. I feel like every page was something different, and also the narration, I think Millie herself did the narration. I could be wrong though, I don't know. But whoever did the narration, it was very good. Very like, audiobooks, you have to have a good voice, otherwise I'm literally just, I can't do it. And it was a good narration. Anyway guys, that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed. My next video will probably be a book haul because your girl has bought quite a lot of books recently. Maybe not, I don't really know yet. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe if you haven't. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.